This is Joe's Corner 76. I will be discussing human condition. In order to change it, we have to be involved. Is China a risk to Canada? Let's look at a little background lead up to whether China is a risk to Canada or not. Let's be clear. The communist regime has no interest in promoting democracy. Democracy is the total opposite of their state control and denial of personal rights and freedoms. Its very intent is to subvert democratic governments around the world and also to deal with any form of government where they can gain influence through economic bribes. They are on a worldwide hunt to obtain materials to build their economy. The aim of the Chinese government is to become the number one power, both economically and militarily, by 2050. They aim to be number one in technology by 2050, by whatever means they have to use. They are using their economic power to project their presence around the world. They will deal with any kind of regime, no matter how bad, and provide economic assistance. In Africa, they are dealing with any kind of government, no matter what kind. Their intent is to make Africa an economic powerhouse under Chinese influence and in their orbit. China doesn't recognize copyright laws, and they have no qualms about stealing other countries' intellectual property or industrial secrets. They are building up their military to an unprecedented rate to project their power. They have created artificial islands for military bases. They have declared all seas around China as their territorial waters. These are rich in oil deposits and other benefits. They have a military presence in the far north. They want to have the yuan become the new international currency to replace the US dollar. They're out to get positions in resource companies all over the world. China has a stranglehold and controls most of the critical materials to make electrical car batteries. They make the majority of solar panels produced, and they use fossil fuels in their production. China is the number one emitter of carbon in the world. China produces a lot of our generic drugs. We really should take a look at what we gave China and what we got back. Back in 1970, Pierre Trudeau recognized China, and subsequently this led to China becoming a part of the international organizational structures. Canada agreed Taiwan was not the government of China. Canada provided aid to China when they experienced drought and flooding. We have provided scientific and technological knowledge to help build China's scientific development. We provided them with nuclear technology. We helped them build their infrastructure. We signed many cultural, scientific, and economic deals with them. Unfortunately, we were silent for a long time on their human rights issues. China has and does purchase positions in crucial energy sectors in Canada. We have cooperated in joint scientific studies. We have provided them with close economic cooperation. Overall, we have been a very friendly country. What have we gotten back from the Chinese government? The Liberals under Trudeau were great admirers of the Chinese regime. Justin Trudeau has expressed this admiration of the Chinese government. He said he admires Chinese basic dictatorship because it allows them to turn their economy around. Why did he not mention the people of Tibet, whose culture is being erased, the enslavement of the Muslim Uyghur population, the organ harvesting, the huge carbon emissions they produce, Tiananmen Square? Why does he, as often as he can, condemn anyone who has opinions which don't meet his standards as racist? Why did he sign a secret vaccine deal with China and then be told they would not provide a vaccine? In other words, kiss my ass. It's strange that he didn't go to our allies first. When our major allies banned Huawei, Trudeau dithered to the last minute to ban it. Our allies did it a lot faster. Why did we not jail the Huawei executive when our two Michaels were in prison? Why in the hell did this government allow Chinese soldiers to see our military training? Why were there no charges laid against two Chinese scientists? Why no answers were provided to the parliamentary committee? Or why weren't they told us if they were citizens or not? Why did we not cease all scientific cooperation? especially those of a security nature, immediately? Why did we not tell China we will not be threatened by their economic blackmail? It is a given that Chinese steal intellectual property and use industrial espionage. We have been told numerous times that China is harassing our Chinese Canadian population. In many cases, they use their families back home to force them to return to China to face charges. The Chinese government has apparently established police stations in many countries, including Canada. There are apparently two in Toronto and one in Vancouver. They are located in predominantly Chinese areas. It is claimed that between April 2021 and July 2022, Chinese police persuaded 230,000 so-called fugitives to return to China to face charges. Why have we not heard more about this? Who is involved? Should Chinese diplomats be expelled? Now the Globe and Mail has information that was leaked by CSIS that the Chinese are interfering in our elections. Why has the Liberal government put so many obstacles in the way to find the Canadian public and inform them? In 2019, the Chinese consulate funneled about 250,000 to 11 candidates Beijing believed were friendly to them. Trudeau has said a panel of public servants assured him that there was no problems in the elections. He knows what was said. Why not release it? Instead, Trudeau said the public servants were in the best place to answer questions about the opposition parties have pushed for a public inquiry constantly. The Liberals have filibustered to try and stop it. They have consistently voted against it. When this would not go away, Trudeau came up with an independent special rapporteur, a superfluous position to report on foreign interference in our elections and to decide a course of action. He reports to Trudeau. David Johnston is known as an honorable man, but should he really have been the person appointed? He is a close family friend and sat on the board of the Pierre Trudeau Foundation. This foundation has returned a $20,000 donation to Beijing and its linked donor. One would have hoped that he would turn the appointment down. They want Katie Telford, Trudeau's chief of staff, to testify, and Trudeau refused. After all the opposition parties voted for her to testify, he backed down. You can bet Telford's testimony will be heavily censored. Too bad. If the NDP had forced a no-confidence vote, we would have had an election. Trudeau is doing all he can to delay the release of anything because, as usual, he hopes it'll go away. It just keeps getting worse. Trudeau was specifically warned about a Chinese Liberal candidate, Han Dong, who was being helped by the Chinese. The intelligence agency asked Trudeau to rescind his candidacy. He didn't. It has now come out that this candidate was talking to China about the two Michaels, and it appears he asked the Chinese to delay their release for political reasons. The government has not commented on this, even when asked 24 times. All Canadians need to know how far up the Liberals' ass the Chinese government is, or any other parties. We can't let this go away. Did the Liberals win because of this interference? Our allies are concerned about this. They don't trust us on security issues. The US, Australia, and the UK entered into security agreements which we were not part of. Can we do anything? Expel foreign nationals and diplomats who avert our security. We need to set up a public registry of foreign lobbyists, either for a government or an individual. They should have to disclose the names of their clients, and if not, be subject to hefty fines and jail time. Scrap any scientific cooperation and joint university projects that affect our security or intellectual or industrial base. We need to do in-depth checks on researchers working on security intelligence projects. We need to increase our spy and surveillance systems. Make it clear we will not be bullied economically. We need to produce vital medical equipment here. Refuse outright for China to own any portion of resource companies, in particular those that have minerals used in electric battery production. This means all resources that are critical in battery production. Shift away as fast as possible with trade with China. Never allow again Chinese military to observe our military training. Increase our military strength in the far north. It is clear change is needed now. We don't have any trust in this government. Use your voice for change by voting. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Joe's Corner 76. You can hear me on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube at Joe's Corner 76.